Hello and welcome to another Toybox audio video demonstration video. What are we looking at? This is FM Zone, the new synthesizer from Toybox Audio. It is an FM synthesizer. Normally, FM synthesizers are a nightmare because FM is a nightmare of a synthesis. And what we try to do here is to simplify the access to FM. I grew up in the 80s like the other half of Toybox Audio, my friend David, and we played around with, when we were very little, in our very early teens, let's say late noughties, even late noughts, we had access to things like Yamaha PSS 680s and the crazy old FM synthesizers that were available at the time. Very simple, mostly two operator. So you'd have one operator modulating another operator. And that was it. We had two op FM. And sometimes you had the ability to meddle with the noises and muck around with them, but not all the time. But the controls that you had were fairly basic. And so we've tried to use those principles to create an FM synthesizer that is actually kind of touchy-feely, a bit more sort of experimental, inviting to muck around with, because a lot of FM synths are overwhelming and just when you're thinking about ratios and amplitude envelopes and pitch envelopes and all this kind of thing, it can get a bit overwhelming. So this is an approach we've decided to take with this synth, which enormously simplifies the access to FM synthesizers. There is a deep layer behind the front layer that you see here with all these beautiful knobs here. But I'll do another video that covers the kind of back-end design stuff. We're just going to look at the overall functionality of this synth, and I want to kind of show you how easy it is to just load a noise, muck around with it, make something completely different. So I think I just whacked the mic stand just then. So let's have a look. What have we got here? So if you're familiar with the Toybox Audio synths, which you might be, you'll be familiar with some of these functions that we keep across the synthesizers. We've got like an options panel here that gives you global options and some filters and the kind of the actual modulation source and targets. There's a general speed kind of function here that allows you to speed up the rate of the breakpoint envelope, which we'll look at in a second, or all the breakpoint envelopes, I should say. And we have an attack and release kind of amplitude envelope. This is simply for slowing down the attack of the sound and the release of the sound. It doesn't affect the algorithms in any way, really. And here we have a master pitch. And I'll just play a few. Let's just make some noises. I like noises. So what I'm going to do actually is reset the oscillator. There we go. That's the same every time. So this is obviously attack. And this is a release. And if you put them together, instant pad noises. Let's put that back to the start again, okay? And that's like a master pitch that tunes all the filters and all the oscillators and everything at the same time. This is, on a lot of the PSS synthesizers that we had at the time, there was an instant kind of stereo mode. And I think at the time what it did was some kind of crude chorusing, basically, like a delay line modulation, kind of spreading it across the speakers. It sounded rich and great at the time, but we thought we'd go one step further and actually have a kind of algorithm separator. So we've got when you enable this, it duplicates the current algorithm and spreads it to the side, slightly detunes it, and you can hear the stereo-ness of that sound. Very handy for wideness. We all like some wideness in our lives. And this is like an effect. I think this is all in all the other synths as well. Just with some reverbs and a bit of flanging and some delays and stuff. Usually these are just for, these notes, most of the time they'll complement the sounds quite well, but you obviously welcome to put your own beautiful effects after this beefy machine. Okay, and this little switch here enables the keyboard that's going to display there, but I'm going to put that away because I don't need no keyboard. Very handy for iOS or kind of mobile users, I think we should call them. Okay. Right, so where are we? Let me just say that again. We are down here now. Let's look at all these knobs. Top row first. These are all the knobs that can be modulated by envelopes. So each of these parameters can be wanged around just like that. And we can initialize the envelope here. We'll have a look at that in a second. So these are all the knobs that you can modulate. You can modulate the pitch, you can modulate the shape. And what this does is it essentially kind of wave shapes and folds back the sine wave in on itself. So it instantly adds coloration and more harmonics to the sound. That's just pure sine waves, let's say. Adds what sounds like odd harmonics, odd and even harmonics possibly. Yeah. Adds colour and richness to your core sine waves anyway, to add more interest to the sound. Now these two knobs are the interesting knobs. These are the two knobs we'd kind of get on our old synthesizers, spectrum and timbre. There were a few more as well, but these kind of capture the essence of the access to the noises that we had. There'll be combinations of amplitude adjustments to oscillators within the FM algorithm. And sometimes there'll be turning up envelopes that are built into the oscillators, built into the operators. And sometimes changing the pitch, sometimes changing other values as well. But most of the time, these are the main knobs that will be affecting the tone, the spectra, the timbre, let's say, of the sound. And obviously you can play with them as well at the same time. And let's carry on here. We've got the filter knob here, which is imported from our other synths. It's got some lovely filters in there, with zero delay feedback, kind of. Got some lovely resonance. Analog, very analog. We like these filters are kind of modelled from the stuff that we put into the modular stuff, the blocks things. So these are lovely oscillators. Oh yeah. Oh. There you go. Anyway, that's a filter. And this last knob here is the level. It's kind of post all the oscillators. So it's the general envelope, the general volume knob for everything that happens within this kind of synth side of the plugin. Let's just move over here quickly, because there's a few more knobs up here that obviously have breakpoint envelope modulation possibilities. But this is the sample layer, and you can put your own samples in, drag your own things in. This was mostly covered in, I think Buzz Zone has got the exact same kind of feature. Nothing much added to it. It's the same thing. Put your own samples in there and complement your beautiful FM sound, let's turn that off for the moment, with a sample layer. Now, there are some presets that use combinations of synthesizer and sample combinations. Did I say that? I couldn't tell you which ones. Could flick through and find one. Oh, there we go. Waterphone. What was that? So we've got... So we're wanging around the pitch and the old filter and not the level. And it's got this layer as well. It's a bit effectsy, a bit sci-fi. So yeah, those are the 9 main knobs that can be modulated. Each of these knobs has kind of additional functionality down here. Let's just reset that. So what we've got here, we've got this other knob here, which is the harmony knob. I think this was included in Buzz Zone as well, so it's familiar territory. I think, though, there are a few more features. Vibrato was there. I think we've added the noise, which basically just adds noise to... It's just like outputs noise, handy for percussion, and, you know, maybe you want to just... stimulate the different filters we have here, stimulate the comb filter or the multi-notch or the vowel filter, in fact, or any of these, some of the highly resonant ones up here. Do that. And we've got a noise mod which kind of noise modulates the oscillators, as you can hear. Turn it off. Isn't that lovely? And then we've got chaos, which is a very kind of slow noise. Like someone's let the fly in the room. Get the fly out of the room. There we go. The fly's gone out of the room. What have we got next? We have this. Again, might be on buzz zone, but it's basically a kind of duplicator of the sound, just sort of to give you a detuned version. So almost a semitone in either direction. That in combination with the spreads out the difference between the two different algorithm, one on each side of the stereo spectrum. That's obvious what that does. Here's the power knob. This is a power knob. The idea of this synthesizer is that you load a sound up. Actually, I'll carry on with these knobs. What is it? This is an algorithm knob. This basically cycles through the algorithms. Listen to them. First 7 are FM algorithms in different combinations of operators connected. And there's some super saws and some ring mods, a couple of analog. We've got like a weird selector mode. There's loads of crazy modes. This will be looked at in a deeper dive. But so the idea is that you can select operator settings by loading a sound, which we'll look at in a second, and flick through the different algorithms and just see if those operator settings make an interesting noise with another algorithm. That's the idea. And of course the knobs should always do something as well, because they're all connected to these in different ways. Ooh, that's nice. I like this. So yeah, those are those 3 knobs. These are the really power knobs. And we have this knob here. So spectrum and timbre and the algorithm knob are kind of the power knobs. This knob here exerts a certain amount of power onto your sound. It can offset all the operators, apart from what we'd call operator 1, the kind of maybe the leading operator, the first operator presented that you hear, the operator that you hear at the bottom of the algorithm. So this can change the timbre and tone of plugins of the operators as well. Let's just put that back to. So we can collapse all the ratios down to 0. So all the oscillators are kind of their frequencies are all pulled towards the fundamental, basically. So, but if you put it at 0, all the oscillators are running at the same frequency. But let's put it at 1. So they're all spread out in the way that they were configured in this particular patch. And then we can spread them out in other crazy ways and do this kind of stuff. Also, I mean, I think if you put them down to like half. Nice. Let's just make that thin again. And what else is here? We have, obviously, we went to the filter. It's got a resonance. And this is a drive. So if you want to add a bit of beef, especially to like bass noises or kind of percussion noises maybe, here's your knob. Waggle that. Instant hardness. Let's move on. Okay, so this is the important menu. There's a few important menus here. I'm going to show you around kind of the idea that we imagined people would approach the keyboard with in kind of the similar way that we would approach these PSSs in the 80s. So the idea is that you load a sound up. This is what we would do. You'd load a sound up. Bamboo. Quite convincing bamboo. And waggle around the knobs. So what have we got? We've got the timbre and the spectrum. That's adding a weight to it, like an octave below or something. What's this one doing? It's kind of turning up that attack to the... Now, so if you put that down to 0, That transient doesn't exist. But there it is. Now we can also slow down the envelopes that are contained within the operators by the speed function. Which is cool. That's kind of the idea. So you load a sound up, waggle the knobs around, see what you come up with. What's this crazy noise? Sounds like a messed up comb filter, doesn't it? Quite frankly. So what do we do? Let's oh, let's do that. There we go. So obviously you can just like make your own envelopes. This is a lovely bit of sound design, isn't it? Oh, yeah. When are you going to use that in your next pop hit? Oh, although I mean I do absolutely love that noise, whatever's going on there. Let's find a more useful noise to work with. Let's go with some brass. A Nolan brass. Let's just get rid of those. So we've got a steady noise, let's say. And what happens when we... What do these knobs do to the sound? Makes that quite... Opens up a lot of beef in there, doesn't it? So let's see what we can do here. Let's look at the envelope menu. So over here, we have a menu here that gives you access to a load of pre-designed envelopes that you can just load into the breakpoint envelope area. So what have we got? Let's go with LFO slowing. What's that? So as you can see, the envelope is describing the movement of this knob. You can kind of make it more extreme by chucking it up there. So what happens if we do... Let's kind of do a combination of... So let's just, and the whole point is that we wanted to give people easy access to just like what you can do with FM. So let's just pick another sound, and this will load another. It will change the algorithm and change the operator settings that are in the background. And I mean, these knobs will do different stuff to the sound now. Let's move. I'll change this envelope to, let's say... You see how easy it is to adjust these envelopes? I wasn't happy with the way that this envelope can remained up high. I mean, it's an inverse, it's a pump, I think, isn't it called? It's an inverse kind of decay. So just double click on the breakpoints and they disappear. It's really easy. But again, let's speed up. Yeah, let's load another noise. Let's just have another move around this beautiful little sonic machine. Oh, that sounds pretty heavy, doesn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to initialize the envelope, initialize, and maybe initialize that as well, and see what sound we've got. Oh, it's a super saw. Let's just change the algorithm. A lot of these algorithms are brilliantly sort of, you load a sound up and it just breaks. But that's great because you never know what you're going to get when you break a noise. Ooh. Oh, nice. Easy noises. Let's have another one. Let's do a quick other one. So this sound menu here is kind of like the little matrix kind of 3x4, maybe it's 4x4, of sounds that you would select on these lovely old PSS synthesizers, PSS FM things. And yeah, obviously there were only 16 or 12 or something on those old bits of equipment. I think maybe there was another like shift function to get to another 12 or 16. And we've tried to employ that kind of idea. So you just load any old sound up. Slow it down maybe. The idea is you sort of, any sound that loads up in this sound menu here, you can slow it down, speed it up, access the operators with these knobs here with the spectrum and timbre, and change the qualities of that FM operation in the background. Change the pitch. Maybe it's an octave too low, maybe it's an octave too high. Oh. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? Wow, I want to turn that up very, very loud. And maybe stick a bit of drive on it. Ooh. Oh, that's lovely. And yeah, muck around with these knobs. You never know what you're going to get. You just never know. That's what's so much fun. What was this? Billions. That's an interesting noise. What are we looking at here? Ah, the pitch is really low. Let's move it up. That's a lovely bit of machinery. Oh, you know, maybe it's the rumble of some kind of enormous craft. There. Back to normal pitch. What do we get up here? Oh, it's a very harmonically rich. Oh, there's a lot of stuff going on in there. Oh. I mean, this is the beauty of FM. You just get these enormous noises, and even actually, this isn't FM. This is strictly speaking one of the other algorithms. What's called a selector algorithm. It's selecting inputs of a kind of mixer in various different ways. All the operators, are fed into a little mixer, and they are being selected very quickly and faded between or not faded between. Sounds unusual. But there is a bit of FM in the background of this synth feeding the operators that are being selected, one after the other. And that FM operation itself affects the way the selector is selecting the noises, the different operators that are going into it. Wow, there was a lot of boring words there. But listen to this. All the way up there. Can we go up there? Let's go all the way up there. Yeah. This button, this knob is really interesting because a lot of the time it won't have an effect because half the algorithms don't have an FM kind of component that you might hear at the output. A lot of them are saw waves and kind of analog oscillators, kind of regular analog oscillators. Half of them, let's say. And others of them are just like ring mods and this kind of thing. There's a couple of ring mods in here. Really interesting ring mod setup. Kind of a dual, I think it was called dual ring mod. Yeah, it's really interesting. The manual describes the algorithms in more detail, I believe. I'll stick a link to it in the description. And yeah, I think I've shown you what you can do with this stuff. Put it back to selector. Oh. Sorry, I could just listen to these for probably far too long as usual. I get distracted in these videos just listening to the lovely noises. But there you go. I think that covers a good summary overview of our beautiful synthesizer. Beautiful FM synthesizer, I should say, that's reminiscent of the old PSSs from the late 80s. I don't think they were available in the early 80s. I think they were more like 86, 87. What did I want to quickly show you? There's a switch here to spread out the algorithms. Some of the algorithms have more than one oscillator on the output, more than one operator on the output. And when they do, you can split them left and right like that, and then use the widening function up here to spread those algorithms left and right. And we've got the regular legato and glide functions with your polyphony, polyphony settings. And this is really interesting. This basically reduces the sample rate of the operators themselves. So you add a load of noise and aliasing and mad stuff, cool stuff. Definitely there's some presets that exploit that. But this is not recorded as part of a sound patch, only recorded as part of a preset. And you can throw the this thing that's generated here through the filter as well, because you can generate like triangles and other stuff in here. The other functionality, some of these don't necessarily generate an actual oscillator that can be filtered or heard, like the vibrato, for example. So that functionality, this filter sub won't do anything for those functions, but the rest of them it does. And you can turn on high quality filters if you're going to do crazy high resonance stuff or just super fast frequency, super fast filter modulation with, maybe the breakpoint envelopes or oscillators, that kind of thing. Anyway, so there you go. That's the amazing new synth from Toybox Audio. I'm just gonna play this sound once more. Slow it right down. And maybe we'll end on this because it's a beefy experience, right? Thank you for coming. Enjoy the synthesizer.